Hello again, awesomers. It's me, Steve Simonson, and I'm coming back to you for another ad hoc episode. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening right now. And I'm also going to share with you some of the places that I'm going to be in the next 5-6 months that I would love to see any of you out there. If you can come to any of these conferences, if you're already going, love to say hello and hang out. So first, let's just talk about China for a minute. As we record this in early February, China is just heading into the Chinese New Year. And what that means, of course, is the factory workers and everybody kind of goes home. And it's actually the largest single human migration on the planet. I think they estimate somewhere around 2 billion or 2.3 billion trips being made by, all these families, going back to see each other, the workers going back home. And as a lot of people tell you, although I feel like they make it sound like it's brand new news, they'll warn you and go, hey, so many factories are going to shut down and so many workers won't come back to work and so on and so forth. And although there will be continued pressure on China from a meta-economic level, this sort of thing happens every year. The risks are relatively low to speak of. So I wouldn't get too whipped up into a lather if you hear 40% of workers don't show back up to the factory. That's pretty normal. They're going to do that. They find new jobs. Maybe it's closer to home. Maybe they decide they have enough money. They're going to go back home, back to the rural part of China versus the metro areas where most of the jobs are. So don't let kind of that, fear mongering or the revelation of, oh, so many factories are going to shut down. There will be some turnover. And even this year, it might be a little bit more than normal because there is significant headwinds that China and Chinese factories are facing on the global front, on a number of fronts. But it's not that much worse than normal, and certainly it's not as bad as it was in 2008, when the Asian crisis hit not just China, but all over Asia. So my point is, just take a grain of salt. Don't panic. These things happen. So in addition to Chinese New Year, of course, there are things happening at Amazon. For those Amazon sellers out there who pay close attention, they just announced, both in the United States and Europe, some lower fees, particularly as it relates to FBA, long-term storage, and things like that. And this is actually a positive sign. And this goes, I talked about this in an earlier Awesomers episode, that their prices will just keep going up until there's enough pressure to keep them back down. It's a straight supply-demand curve. If they have more supply, they don't see it being utilized, they may lower their prices. But as that demand increases, or as we get lazy with our inventory and just kind of leave a bunch of stuff in a bunch of places that is not moving, that's the antithesis of what Amazon wants, then the price will go up again. And so I think you'll find this sort of vacillation based on supply-demand curves to be something that is normal and something that should be prepared for. And as always, I have advocated the idea of being wise with your inventory, using staging warehouses, and really thinking about what's the best way to control and position that inventory. I know that we all love the idea of simply, place the order at the factory, never touch it, never think about it, send it right to Amazon, have it all sold, send the money, and repeat over and over and over. And I'm fine with that. In fact, I love that. If, in fact, you can send in a batch of material that will only last a month, or let's say 6 weeks at Amazon, then you're already using JIT inventory, just-in-time inventory. But if you have many, many weeks of inventory in there, and I'm talking about 8, 12, or more weeks, you really should start considering looking at a staging warehouse, because the costs, certainly at scale, the costs do not make sense to do too much at Amazon any more than that 3 to 6 week throughput at Amazon. And that, the only reason I say that much, often in a normal environment, we would do less. We would do 2 to 3 weeks maybe, and then just refill that weekly from a staging warehouse or a 3PL. But Amazon has the potential for those spikes, or you get a couple lightning deals. That's the reason why we have a little bit more of a buffer, that 4 to 6 weeks recommendation. Now, it should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway, that when you're planning around Prime Day, or obviously, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but even holidays like Mother's Day or back to school events, if that is a prime time for your product, you should be forecasting higher then you're trailing 4 to 6 weeks, and include that in your amount of inventory in Amazon. I didn't know all this stuff going in. We made most of our learnings by mistakes, but I share that just to say that if you don't factor in Prime Day, for example, in that 4 to 6 weeks of inventory, you've made a huge miscalculation. So please do that. I don't want to see you get caught without the product that you need and that you want to sell. All right, so we've talked a little bit about China. We've talked a little bit about some of the welcome lower fees on Amazon. I do want to talk just a minute about Empowery. I want you guys to go check out empowery.org. That's empowery.org. The team there has set up a marketing funnel. As you know, I'm a volunteer for Empowery. None of the ads, none of the efforts that we do are paid to Awesomers. They're not paid to me personally. Everything we do is kind of a volunteer effort for the Empowery nonprofit member-owned cooperative. And I just want to say a quick word. A lot of people don't know what that means or what that's all about, but just imagine an organization that is owned by the members, that's entirely focused on making the members' lives better in 3 different ways. One is the simple idea of community and leadership. Empowery provides access to not just other Empowery members, but the team at Empowery, which has full-time team members working there. There's a finance group that helps track down the rebates and the cash back and those types of things. So there's a lot of people working behind the scenes kind of for the benefit of the members. So that's really cool, having the community. And of course, the Empowery team drops, I think, very valuable content. An example of that will happen on February 4th for Empowery members, where they will be given very high kind of blueprints and master plans on how they can put their financial house in order, how they can solve that problem. Also, how they can track Facebook ads very simply and systemically to really measure ROI, and another operational presentation as well. So there's a lot of opportunity for Empowery members every single month to see value. So that community piece is one piece. Then there's also the influence piece. And influence is really oriented towards marketplaces and governments who are, I would just say they're being jerky to Amazon sellers. They raise prices on lightning sales, or they decide what sales tax laws apply and what doesn't, without regard to the fact that we have no voice or we have no vote in their state. And by the way, there's a whole series of episodes we've done on this. There are many reasons why we should try to have influence in not just marketplaces, but in government areas as well. And we're a big proponent and supporter of the Online Merchants Guild as kind of the tip of the spear when it comes to the legal and lobbying side of that equation. And then finally, there's the financial benefit of being in a buying group, having a little better price than everybody on the street, getting some extra perks along the way, and then earning that all-important cash back, which can actually pay more than it costs you to be a member. So as one example, a member of Empowery just in the 4th quarter of 2018 got more money than it cost him to join, and more money for the entire year of subscription by quite a measure, nearly double, just in a single quarter. So there are some financial upsides, and that's because they're member owners. So Empowery shareholders, Empowery silver members and higher are member owners. Empowery bronze members can get there, but that's a nice way to start. So anyway, enough on Empowery. I got on a little rant there, but I'm very passionate about it. I love entrepreneurs, and I see that as a long, systemic way to help entrepreneurs. So let me tell you where I'm going to be in the upcoming weeks and months. So in the middle of February, I'm going to be down in Costa Rica. So I've got a little mastermind group that has invited me down there, and we're going to go hang out in the beautiful Costa Rica. Dave Kettner and Norma Farrar are leading that effort, and I've already met some of the entrepreneurs down there, some that I've met briefly in passing before, but we're going to spend a lot of fun time. So down in Costa Rica, if you happen to be down there in the middle of February 2019, why not check us out? Or I don't think you can go to the mastermind. That thing's full and exclusive type of thing, but if you're around, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd love to have a drink, tell some more stories, or hang out at the beach. I'll also be going to Traffic and Conversion literally less than 12 hours later, after I land from Costa Rica, I'll be taking off for San Diego. Just enough time to do laundry. And so if you're down in San Diego for the traffic and conversion event, which is a huge event, originally started and still hosted by digital marketer guys, Ryan Dice, Perry Belcher, Roland Fraser, the whole gang there, and even Richard Linder, and there's so many other really great people there. They ended up selling that conference, by the way, this past fall. So it'll be interesting to see. I imagine there won't be any discernible changes, but I expect lots of interesting things happening in the future, including the already announced fall TNC event in New York City. So that's TNC near the third week of February, roughly, of 2019. As we come into March, join me at the Prosper Show. I'll be on a panel there with other esteemed colleagues, including my buddy Kevin King and others who I actually don't know who's on the panel yet. We're going to talk about some of the pains to be an Amazon seller and growing and scaling that business. And there's a lot of other great content. James Thompson puts on a beautiful show. He's a brilliant ex-Amazonian, and he also, I think I can speak for him, he loves entrepreneurs. So if you're going to the Prosper Show, go to prospershow.com. And you could use Seller19 as your discount code. I have no affiliation. I never do. And that'll save you $100. But, my interest in saving a little bit of money, but use Speaker19 as your discount code, save you a couple bucks there. And I would love to see you in Vegas in March. Now, not long after the Prosper Show, I'm headed over to the European Sellers Conference in Prague. And I just can't wait. Augustus Klingis is hosting that, and I hope I got the pronunciation right there, buddy. He's hosting that, and there's just a ton of talent coming over for that. And I often talk about this, that I think Europe is ignored by too many, I don't know. I think Europe needs more attention. That's probably my point. And so I've been over just in the past 8 weeks over to London for a holiday party there. And I'm heading back to Prague here just at the end of March, just for a couple days. I don't really have very much time. Believe it or not, I'm squeezing other things in here that I'm not sharing with you all. But I will be there in Prague for the European Seller Conference. And I think that's AMZ Summits. You can go check that, amzsummits.com out, and get a look at that. So after that, I probably will go to the Canton Fair for some period of time in Guangzhou. And if I do, I'll make that further announcement. Probably around phase 2 would be my guess. And following that, we're going to have an Empowery conference in May of 2019. I definitely want you to check that out. And you can go to the awesomers.com/133 page to find the relevant links that I'm talking about, both for Empowery and the others as well. And this is episode 133 of the Awesomers podcast, by the way. That's how we came up with that super secret code, awesomers.com/133. I know, super, super complicated. So after the Empowery conference in mid-May, I may pop down to the Gold Coast of Australia to go to the, I think it's called E-Tail conference, put on by Phil Leahy, who's a great organizer. I've been to his Vegas event, and I think for e-commerce guys, it's a great way to kind of hang out, go to Australia, and kind of check out what's happening down under. Huh? That's a little Australian accent for you. G'day, Steve. All right, I think that's about the end of my Australian accent. After the end of May, I will be going to the amazing.com now massive show, SellerCon, and there's even a chance that I may be speaking there as well. That is in Vegas in the third week of June, I believe. And I've got a special link for you. It's actually an Empowery link where you can save a little bit of money. First of all, they have a great early bird price where it's 50% off the tickets. So you should go to awesomers.com/133 right now and grab that link, because on top of that already great savings, we've got a discount code for you to use, which saves you another 20%. And even better, on top of that, we've got an Empowery link that Empowery members earn a little cash back, But even if you're not an Empowering member, we've got a special VIP hangout with me that we're going to be doing in Vegas. And again, I'm not compensated. I have no affiliation for any of this. I just love to hang out with folks, and I love to support the Empowering nonprofit member-owned cooperative. So that's a little bit about my schedule. I know that seems like a whirlwind, but believe it or not, I may squeeze a couple other things in there. I might need to get a trip to India in to talk to some developers. We're working on some parsimony.com projects. I may need to visit with my own team in China a little bit more. And then I've got this super secret project that you can go check out if you go to kevinandsteve.com, and you will see, I believe it's a mid-April time frame that we're going to kind of share with you some of these details. It is not a membership. It's not a co-op. It's not a training course. It's none of that kind of stuff. I don't think it's like anything you've ever seen before. And it is really, really something that Kevin King and I are cooking up special just for you guys. If you want to see what's cooking, go on over to awesomers.com/133 right now and check out those links that I'm preparing for you. So I want to just say one final word. So some might question, hey, why does Steve go to all these things? By the way, I don't get paid to speak. I'll be on the panel at the European conference, maybe speaking at SellerCon. I'm on a panel at Prosper. I don't get paid to do any of those. And in some cases, they help out a little bit with my airfare, but in most every case, it doesn't cover all of it. And the question is logical. Why do I bother doing it? If it costs me money and takes my time, why do I do it? And the simplest reason is I really, truly do love to hang out with entrepreneurs and people who are getting things done. That's the awesomer mentality that I talk about so often. And I can't say, in detail much more than the fact that when I'm there with fellow awesomers and entrepreneurs and anybody who's really getting the job done, no matter where in the world it is, and we can exchange ideas and share stories, and often we're able to say, hey, I've got this problem, what do you think? And everybody kind of shares ideas. To me, that's the most productive and one of the most high ROI things that I do. And I can say unequivocally that, in 2018, 2017 probably, I definitely spent more than 6 figures traveling, going to masterminds, paying for masterminds and so forth, definitely more than 6 figures. But some of the best ROI has always come from those types of relationships and those types of ideas and just the energy around those events. So, for those of you who are like, gosh, I don't know if I can afford to go to one event. I don't know if I can afford to, do anything. Hopefully I'll look at the replay. Replays are great when they exist, but I bet you 95% of people never click the open button on a replay, let alone replay the whole conference. So, and even if you do watch the entire conference, it's not the same. And as much respect as I have, you want to live stream it, knock yourself out, but it is not the same. When there are breakout sessions or just walking over to the water cooler and somebody says, gosh, I just don't understand how to do this or that. And somebody else says, oh, well, I had that problem and then I just did this. It's like, the hallelujah, right? The gates have opened and the light comes down from heaven and goes, boom, you got your answer. That's the kind of intangible stuff that you'll never see. It can't be in a brochure. It doesn't exist outside of physical in-person conversations and interactions. And that's fundamentally why I always talk about relationships. So I really encourage you guys, check it out. This has been my kind of rant of the day regarding the idea of conferences, where I'm going to be. I would love to hang out with any awesomers out there. So don't hesitate to look me up, find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, or wherever is comfortable for you. And I would love to connect with any of you guys around the world, and gals, of course, maybe especially the gals. That's a joke. I do want to remind you guys that, as you're going down this journey of being an awesomer and being an entrepreneur, it can often be a pain. It can often be lonely. And just keep your chin up. Make sure you push through. And anytime you're feeling down or you just get some momentum, push you the wrong way, call some of your colleagues, go listen to some podcasts, do something to take action to break that mindset. It really is important. My very best to each and every one of you. Don't forget, checking out episode 133 at awesomers.com/133. And gosh, if you're still listening by now, go do me a favor. Click subscribe on your favorite podcast thing, especially if it's Apple, because they give us even more juice. And, leave a review. It doesn't hurt. It feels good. I know that I read those reviews, and it makes me say I should do more podcasts. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. I hope to see you.